Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. I'm Ron Partlow and this is Dusty Hanshaw and the producer Scott McNally. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell.
Good one, Donna. Damn, got a guest bell ringer. What else we got? IamMutant.com. Go to IamMutant.com. Get your IsoSurge, get your all in, and everyone should get on the gear, as we always say. I like your shirt, Dusty. I don't see that color red on you very often.
Yeah, I wanted to come with a little something different today. I knew that we've been matching a little too much recently, and I had to find a way to protect us.
What do you call that, Barry?
I don't know. What it really was is I was really running late, and I yelled up to Nikki, "Throw me a mutant shirt down," because I was in a hoodie.
And that one came floating down?
This is the one that came down, and everything else I just said was a lie.
Okay. Great. Good to see Donna has her Christmas bow in. That's always
she's ready.
Yes, very ready. And Scott and I are just normal. Scott and I, no bows, no bows, no nothing. No. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready at all for the bullshit that's coming?
Dude, how about this? Nikki had all of the shopping done before Thanksgiving. We've been done for like a month and a half.
I gotta snap out of it and get something done.
Yeah. I do as well.
We just put the tree up last night.
You what?
I put the tree up last night.
Oh, you put it up? I just bring it out of the attic. That's the end of my duty.
Yeah, well, it's in 3 pieces, and it goes in 3 pieces. I take the bags off, put it together.
Yeah, but all the stuff that goes on that thing, dude, I'm not doing that. That's well above my pay grade. So I just bring it down, and the next thing I know, I look up, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. It's Christmas.
Yeah, it's wild. We have things hanging, garland or whatever you call it, going down the rails. I'm like,
yeah, we're not quite there.
Look how good I did. Look at my work.
I know. I do have to buy some presents, and we are getting excited. We got our staff party at West Coast Iron coming up, so we got like a restaurant booked. Then we're gonna, have some fun.
Nice.
Every year is always a good time. We always eat.
Mutant did theirs yesterday. It looked awesome.
Yes, the Fit Foods one was yesterday. Yes. So it's always a good time.
Absolutely.
I'm excited. I like Christmas, but it's not like it used to be. I remember as a kid how exciting Christmas was.
Oh, totally different.
Ridiculous. Now there's borderline annoyance with traffic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
the adult stuff.
There's no borderline. I'm just irritated. I have to tell you guys, though, this is what I realized what Christmas really is. So Tegan works at a Boot Barn, like a retail store. And I said, what'd you guys do today in sales? I'm just curious. She goes, 122,000
in boots. They sell just boots?
They have clothes and boots in a day.
Yeah.
What? I was like, how do you got? I mean, literally the amount. I was just thinking of them like, your job sucks. You're working your ass off.
How big is a Boot Barn?
It's a decent sized store, but I knew they'd do well, but I was not even halfway to what they did. I was like, okay, I have no idea what I'm looking at.
Do we need to buy a Boot Barn, Dusty? We're going to open a Boot Barn. Is that what we're doing?
If you knew the margins, trust me. I was texting Josh Storms this morning about it because the amount that I save now with her discount is ridiculous, and I'm thinking we made a bad move, dude. we really made a bad play based on what they do in a day. So
yeah.
And that's in a person. I don't leave the house to buy stuff. That's out of control. What's your online look like if that's your in store? She sold yesterday. One lady came in. She's like, I need help buying things for my 2 sons. And she goes, I'll help you. $2,500 later, the lady left.
Hey, it's Christmas. It's fine.
Damn.
What the hell?
What type of boots do those sons need? Are they going they climbing Mount Everest, or are they riding bulls, or what are they doing?
Boots are between $150 and $1,000 a pair there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Depends on what kind of snake they're made out of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Scariest snakes I ever know were women. Anyway.
This one's genuine New Orleans hooker.
Messed with them.
Very rare. Yes. Very vicious. Classic. Very dangerous.
Oh, good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. You put up a question box, didn't you?
I did.
We had some good ones.
Oh, they came through for me. Typical. Woke up this morning, realized no one had done anything. Bombed that up on the way to the gym, and thank you for everyone who saved this show once again.
Yes, it's always good. Which one are we leading with? I know Scott is always very particular.
Well, there were a lot of really good ones. We have a lot of fun ones that we're going to have to get through. I wanted to ask you guys, because I'm curious to hear what you think. We had one that says, how do you guys feel about JP recommending upper, lower to everyone that isn't massive?
Well, first of all, is that actually what he's doing?
I don't know. I kind of feel like JP doesn't really care what you do. You know what I mean?
I'm not really
that's
sure.
That's the start.
That's where a lot of people make a mistake, because they just dive in on the question, right? And then you got to ask, is this question actually what's happening?
Right. Or are we just being gaslit?
I know.
I think JP more often than not doesn't JP tell people not to do what he does most of the time?
Well, he's not. That's saying he's not doing it. So he does promote it. I don't think he promotes it to everyone the way it was set up there, but he has brought it back, which I love, because how long ago were we doing upper lower? I started upper lower in 2008. So that was the norm. The two-way DC split is upper lower, essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
So and I
never did it.
As far as feeling on it, I think it's great advice, because it's something we covered last week with Mike. It all comes down to, is everything lining up? Your volume, your frequency, these are the things that matter. So if you're controlling your volume, then the high frequency makes a ton of sense. If the volume starts getting turned up too much, well, now the high frequency is a problem. And I think that's the area that a lot of people run into. When I worked with Dante, that was the whole thing. A lot of people have heard the story. I essentially nagged him into working with me because he was done helping people. And he made me promise to never adjust the program. He's like, you're going to want to add stuff. Don't add anything. And, you go see, when you're used to the volume we all trained under, when you look at it, you're like, this isn't enough. So I think it's fantastic.
What was the frequency on the two-way DC split? Is it upper lower day off, upper lower day off?
You're training. I train Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
So but 3 days a week.
You cover the entire body in 2 days. The third day you're reviewing what you hit on Monday, and then the next week the other body parts become the Monday, Friday.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal. The only area that I think it can be mistaken that we cover all the time is, if you're not training hard enough, it's not enough volume.
Yeah. Do you know what JP's doing? Is he doing every other day?
JP's moving mountains with his body.
Yeah, I know.
Whenever he wants to, and he's absolutely massive. That's the only thing I don't know that people can, they watch his training, and you see JP and you see the weight, and I never look at the weight. I don't care. What I look at is the amount of intense effort he can put into every single rep.
Yeah.
From the moment he sits down, that's the thing that I wish more people could see, because I get it. The weight is impressive, but if you really know bodybuilding and you really know training, it's not that. The moment he sits down and the bar is in his hands or on his back or whatever it is, something shifts. He thinks about Mufasa when he's listening to The Lion King, and he brings out a different thing. So that's my favorite thing to watch. The intensity. He's probably he and Dorian are the two most intense trainers I've ever seen.
Well, JP is doing so. To me, what's crazy is he's doing 5 rep leg presses.
That scared the shit out of me.
And so to me, that just says, well, that's a lot of weight, right? That's like to do a 5 rep max effort leg press where the 5th rep is your literal failure. They're like, geez, you're loading. I don't know how many plates he's got on there. I can't remember what it said on the post, but Jesus,
that's ridiculous.
So I'm waiting for him to break a bone in his foot, leg pressing. You know what I mean?
Just crushed under the pressure.
Like that's, because I remember Mark Bell telling me when he used to bench fully equipped.
Yeah.
Right. They would bench fully equipped. And I think Mark Bell did he might've done I don't know what he fully equipped benched, probably like 900 pounds or something. But when they do those fully equipped benches, your forearms aren't supported by anything.
Yeah.
So you're still loading like fist to elbow. You're still loading your forearm. Like there's no support on that bone.
Yeah.
You've got like a big bench shirt on around your shoulders and stuff. But he said that when you drive the bar off your chest with those poundages, you can feel and see, if you video real close, you can feel and see the bones in your forearm bending under the stress.
What's that mean, Ron?
And so I just think of like what those guys, obviously their bone density gets so ridiculous by that point, but just think of like structurally those forearms are just bending a little bit. When they change directions, you come down, and then when you change directions, there's just a little bit of a bend to the forearm. And I see JP with his bare feet on the leg press, and I'm just like, something's got to give. Like, I don't know.
If you've known JP long enough, the thing that's going to give is actually the machine.
So, yeah, that's the thing, right? Something's got to give
at some point. Yeah.
So does he break a leg press? Like, is that what's coming?
Yeah, it won't be him. It'll be the machine. The machine's only made of metal. So
I would love to see his bone density right now on a DEXA scan. You know what I mean? See what percentile of the population JP's in.
I have a great story about that. So my one of my clients and good friends, Tanaz, is a dental surgeon, and I had to get a tooth removed during a prep. So I went in, told her, all right, can you got to pull this thing out. She said, no problem. And she got it all ready. And next thing you know, she's yanking on it. She ended up having to cut it into pieces and then pull it out one at a time. And I mean, but at this point she's sweating, which that's like a usual, like a quick, normal thing.
She almost had to drill it out of your jaw.
She literally told me, she goes, I've only ever had that twice in my career. One was you and one was Dennis James. And I'm like, I wonder what we have in common.
A lot of growth.
Mm-hmm. But it made me laugh. I was like,
a lot of chewing.
What that stuff. Yeah, exactly. Him more than me. That's how I died once. But anyways.
That's definitely it. JP's a phenom, man. Watching him move weights, and also too, like, I am waiting for him to break a machine. Like, he's got certain machines, like he's got the prime leg extension, which we have. So I use it all the time, right? And guys at my gym, there's a few guys that are putting like 6 plates on the middle pin, right? So that just leaves a little bit of room on the outside, and you got to have your spotter kind of stand there with his hands just kind of dancing on that outside plate, because if you're cranking out reps with any sort of explosiveness, the plates have a little wiggle to them. It's almost, you should almost put a collar on there. But 6 plates kind of fills up the machine, and those are metal plates. But then JP has those thin custom plates, and he's putting 9 plates on that middle pin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder what Prime actually rates that machine at, because I guarantee they didn't load that middle pin with 9 plates at any point during the testing quality control of that machine, because no one foresaw JP cutting thinner plates.
Yeah.
To load the, they probably loaded the arm with 9 plates. They would have put 4 on the middle, 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, make sure the whole arm can handle it, but just each pin itself, and you watch him cranking out reps, and you see like the machine has like some torsion in it. Like,
you gotta remember that's just the middle one. But if you look at, I just looked at the video, he's got the same amount on the lower one.
Yeah.
So he has a multiple of them. I'm like, so that's, let's just call it 18 plates, give or take.
So I guarantee they didn't quality control that leg extension for 18 plates.
No way.
You know, and there's a bunch of pins in that chain, right? There's adjustment pins in that chain.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know if any of those are going to snap at any point, you know.
I do feel like some of the leg presses now, though, they really have set them up now. I mean, like, do you have an Atlantis hack yet at your gym, the new one?
No,
dude.
But they have the extra pins on it. The big the big monster that's the size of a car.
But it doesn't matter how much weight you put on it. It is like you can hear it moving like a Tesla. Like the machine is ridiculous. So I do think that some of those, I mean, I don't know to what rate, obviously, but it is pretty wild. I feel more secure loading one of those things up than the stuff that we used to do.
Right.
You know, because I have experienced a bearing roll out during a set one time on a hack squat, and that made me slightly uncomfortable.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the Atlantis Pro Hack is actually on those wheels.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's actually on those, like, they're obviously the wheels have crazy bearings in them, but then the wheel is like rolling on a big fat rail like this big, so it spreads the load out over a wider, you know, instead of having it pinpointed on a narrow rail.
Yeah.
So it spreads the load out, and they're very smooth. In the old days, stuff on wheels was rough and shitty because the wheels weren't made of such a good polymer that they would get off round, you know, and you'd feel like it would feel bumpy, you know, like old Arnold's leg presses and stuff. They weren't the same. But these new wheels that they're using on the fat rails, that's a different feel for sure.
Yeah, I feel like they've taken their stuff to the next level. I've loved them forever, but now, you know, I just text Yossi on Saturday asking about some stuff. I'm like, their stuff is so good. It's probably my favorite.
I actually just got contacted by Atlantis. They want to do some videos with me.
Oh, you're kidding?
There we go.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I'm talking to Ezra. I'm talking to Ezra right now from Atlantis about doing some Instagram content, just explaining some machines, and I already have ideas for some of the videos.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to talk about how many moving parts do we actually need.
Yeah, dude, you'd be great for that. That would be awesome.
Because they want a gym owner's perspective, like a bodybuilder and a gym owner. Like, why do you like this piece? You know, and we have some Atlantis that I really like. So, yeah, you know, give her a go.
Fantastic.
Do we answer that question?
No, we never do.
I think so. Okay. I think that was good.
I don't want to actually answer it definitively.
I talked to Kuba.
Talk about JP.
I talked to Kuba about upper lower. And I said, you know, what do you think about it? He said it's not for him. He said that for his training, he said he actually thought that it would work better for smaller guys. He said at this point, the way he worded it was that he has so much mass or so much more mass that he utterly gets destroyed in the way that he likes to train when he tries to do upper lower. So he does a variation of push-pull legs. And that kind of allows him to spread it out a little bit more. But Kuba's thought was for smaller guys who don't have as much muscle, crack on, as Dave Crossan would say, crack on.
Phenomenal. That drop of crack on was so good. We need to have Kuba on the show soon.
We do. We should.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have that other one we talked about?
Oh, no. I just rolled past it, I think. Though.
Oh, you're killing me.
Yeah, I know. I'm not prepared. I thought you were going to read it, so I was like, I did my piece here.
We're good.
I did my part, Ron. All right.
This one I had to get to because I think it's important. How much leniency should girlfriends give their boyfriends with the mental side effects of PEDs around prep? Tips for navigating this and advice for both parties.
I have a lot to say.
Me too. That's why I'm saying quietly.
As an observer of a lot of as I look back on bodybuilding now, all the shows I did and stuff, I mean, I can't believe how poorly some people handle prep and how, man, I don't want to start ranting, Dusty.
It's too late.
Yeah, when he says that,
you now.
I feel it coming out of me like Bruce Banner. Okay. Your show's not that important. you have to realize that you have to keep the rest of your life in order while you're prepping. Like you can't use prep as an excuse all the time. I hear people use it all the fucking time. It drives me crazy. Oh, I'm prepping right now, so I can't handle that right now. It's like, dude, are you 2 weeks out? Your whole life? You're gonna spend your whole life 2 weeks out? Come on now. Like, obviously, I know what it's like to be like, hey, babe, I'm completely fucking scorched on cardio and low carbs. But I'm talking like you're a few weeks from your show at that point and everybody's on board and everything. But I see people 20 weeks out using things as an excuse, and you should never be acting like an asshole. You have to remember that as a bodybuilder, you have an absolute obligation to never act like an asshole, because, especially in public, because that's exactly what everyone thinks of you anyways. And you should never, ever, ever feed into that. And you have to keep your cool. You can't be yelling at people in traffic. You can't be snapping at people in stores. You can't be making a scene. You can't be causing all that stuff too. Like, if you want to be a bodybuilder, you have to be prepared to never lose your temper in public for the rest of your life, because that's exactly what everybody already thinks of you. So there's that.
Yeah.
And that should also carry on. Just, you gotta, man, I'm frustrated. It frustrates me
so much.
And for the ladies, you can't act like a bitch and blame it on, you already do that with your periods every month anyways. You can't just be doing that.
And there's our short. We have a short run.
I really wanted to get
direct all comments to Ron Partlow.
I really wanted to get Scott's. That was perfect.
It's there. It was there.
No, that was just for Scott. I just threw that in for Scott.
That was good.
No, but you can't be like, guys and girls, you can't use your prep as an excuse to be a jerk. You can't use your prep as an excuse to not contribute around the house. You can't use your prep as an excuse for any of that stuff. Your show's not that important. And bodybuilding should be something that enhances your life, enhances your productivity, enhances your regimen and your routine and your ability to get things done. And I vividly remember my entire prep living with my girlfriend, doing all my own laundry, cooking all my own food, not wanting to put a bunch of work on her plate because she had a full-time job too. And like, I just remember, like, I remember always thinking, I don't want this prep to be a burden on anybody else. And right. I think that's the bottom line. And some people, they start their prep and they just use it as an excuse to dump burden on other people all the time. And that's just brutal.
Well, I think what bothers me is, even with the way the question was this, how much leniency should be given with the mental side effects of PEDs. Well, you use the word side effects. So let me break it down further. If the side effects were you had acne all over in your face and your back and everything, you'd probably say, maybe bodybuilding's not for me. Well, if you're an asshole because you're on a bunch of drugs, maybe bodybuilding isn't for you.
Or you figure out how to get rid of the acne, just like you figure out how to get rid of that, right?
Yeah, because it's one of those things where, and this is because we've had this conversation, Ron and I have before, I was never happier than when I was on. I'm recovering. I'm strong.
Life is good.
Everything that I'm working towards is at its peak. And I just can't fathom, but I guess because I can't fathom is I'm not looking for an excuse. And it's, like Ron said, it does couple right over into your prep and things like that. It's like, no, it doesn't matter. And if you can't control that, the answer to the question is, how much leniency should she give? None. She should give none. And if you're an asshole, she should tell you to take a hike. And then keep in mind, as you roll down the road long enough, how many sacrifices that you made that really were worth it for your hobby. Because I think most of you have to understand that's all this will ever be. And are you willing to lose your potential lifelong partner for a hobby? Would you lose her for boating? Because it's not like she's against bodybuilding; she's against you being a dick.
Yeah, and here's a news flash: some of you should never take tren.
Yeah.
It's just, you can't handle your shit, man. It's just like we all have that friend. Like, I was a happy drunk, right? Everyone used to love seeing me drink. Like, if I ever went out with my friends and I had a couple shots, people at the table would get excited. Oh, is Ron drinking? Oh, because I was
stories.
Yeah, because here come the stories. I'm hugging everybody. It's going to be a fun night. Ron's drinking. All this is going to be a fun time. We all have that friend. You're like, don't give him another shot, man.
Yeah.
Don't give him another shot. He's had enough. He's already he's 3 beers deep. And if he has a 4th beer, I'm going home, because he's going to be rude to the waitress and he's going to do something stupid, and I can't hang out with this guy anymore. It's exactly the same with tren. And if that's you, you have to accept that you can't take tren. You probably can't take halo.
Definitely
just, halo. Man. Yeah.
Halo's the only drug I ever took that I actually felt someone come up and cut my fuse, like 3/4 of it off. But the funny thing is, as I finished the sentence in this, I said to myself, I'm edgy.
It's the halo.
Now don't be that way.
Right.
So you're just mindful of it. You're immediately, it's not that you're walking around, I was a saint. I knew immediately. I was like, okay. Anything that happens that makes me, that elicits a reaction, I need to pause.
Yeah.
Right.
Verify the reaction and then decide if the reaction takes place. That was all I had to do. But I was I could feel it. I was like, "Ooh, okay, this shit's obviously killing me because I'm on edge." It's the only thing I ever took that I was like, "Okay, that's a rough one."
Yeah, I remember prepping and being on Halo like 3 weeks out and being in traffic and being like, "Oh wow, this is not how I would like to feel normally. I want to kill everybody, and I know that it's a Halo, so I'm just gonna try to stay calm, put some music on, not lose my mind." You know? Yeah. Okay.
Fantabulous. So that guy regrets that.
On that note, what about this one, Dusty?
Yes.
If you could pick anybody in bodybuilding, past or present, who would you hockey fight? That was specifically for you.
I love this one, but and my answer is you have to understand something as so if you were a fighter in hockey, you didn't hate the other guy.
It was almost a respect thing.
Respect thing. Exactly. It's exactly what it is. And with that, you also want to fight someone that can fight. Like, you don't want to
you're your team's guy. I'm my team's guy. Let's go.
And with that, the scariest, toughest person that I can think of in all of bodybuilding is Steve Weinberger. And he would be an animal.
And he'd be big on skates too.
Dude, you know what kind of reach that dude has? And he's a boxer.
Yeah.
He would freaking ragdoll you. And that would be the guy. Because you have to. That's your job. I mean, if you go to like a tryout and that's your position you're vying for, you got to ask, who's the guy?
Who's the guy?
And then you got to go right to him. That's your job.
27 is the guy.
And Steve would definitely Steve is the guy in real life. And he would be the guy if he played hockey. So yes, with 1,000,000% respect, Steve. And for the record, for anybody who doesn't know, he's honestly one of the greatest guys in the entire sport.
Like, he's awesome. Remember last time we saw him? Oh, we were giving away the wheelchair Olympia and we ran into Steve. That was great.
Yeah. Just how he handled that tells you how he would handle someone friendly assaulting him. He'd be like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah. You remember, like, I know we both were talking about it after, but didn't he have his hip done?
Just barely.
So he just had his hip replaced and he had a cane.
Right. Yeah.
But we were standing off the side of the stage and we were giving away the wheelchair Olympia with Steve. So we were coming out together. Steve had like some of the awards. I think I was holding the trophy. I can't remember. Dusty had. We all had something. And we were about to walk on, and Steve hands his cane to Bob, and he's like, No one's gonna see me on that.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And he
walking
walked
on
out
stage with a cane.
I'm not walking on stage with that. And he walked out without it. And then as soon as he was backstage, he grabbed it again. But that's Steve, right? He's like, I'm the boss. I'm not walking on stage with a cane. And it was,
Yeah,
and
as if anybody would care. He had his hip replaced.
Yeah, no one cared. Everyone would have understood. But that's just Steve. It just says something about him,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, that was a great question. And I love that you read that. And I immediately had the answer. I was like, oh, this isn't even a question. That's the guy.
I'm just wondering what other pros played hockey? Did any pros do you think?
Oh, I'm sure quite a few did. I haven't spoke, but I mean, I got to assume that half the Canadian guys did at least for a minute.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah. Someone had to.
It's a bit of a birthright for you guys, Let's see here. Did you pull anyone up, Scott?
Well, I see a bunch of them. I'll just grab one randomly. How about one from Mutant CEO? He says, favorite Christmas movie that came out in the past 10 years, and what's Ron's wish for a new piece of equipment in his gym?
Oh, okay.
The last 10 years makes it really tough. I had to real quick jump online to see.
I think I know mine.
Which ones came out in the last 10 years? What's yours?
The Night Before with Seth Rogen.
Huh.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I don't know any of
The Night Before?
I'm lost.
I think it's called The Night Before.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah. I'm not the right person to ask.
2015. You nailed that. You're at the 9-year.
That one right there. The Night Before.
You nailed it. That's impressive.
Great.
Okay.
That was a good movie. Yeah, it's like that's pretty funny. He takes a massive dose of mushrooms, I think, and he has a really rough night. I can't remember. I got to watch it again, but it was good. It was good. We laughed our asses off. There's a good Christmas party scene. There's a lot of funny shit in it.
All right, I'm gonna have to watch that now because
it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into the classics.
I know.
I watch Elf every year, and I know the whole movie, and it's still funny. So I'm a fan of Elf for sure.
We watched Die Hard last year, and if we watch it again, I think that makes it a tradition. So we haven't watched it yet, but if we watch it, you know what I'm saying, Ron? Kind of like if it's 2 years in a row, I think you start to become obligated. So then
the third year you have no choice. That's absolutely a fact. Those are rules.
It's a classic. We watched it a couple years ago on Christmas Eve, and I hadn't. It's always on TV, right? So I'd seen pieces of it over and over and over, but I hadn't sat and watched like the whole thing in a while, and I really enjoyed it, and it really held up.
Yeah,
and it actually moves pretty quickly because sometimes when you watch an old movie, you're like, oh, the pacing on this is a little slow.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Sometimes you watch like an old movie and you realize it moves a little slow or whatever. But it was really quite fun. And I think Die Hard 2's Thanksgiving, right? Yeah. It's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving night. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. That's funny. I think somebody else asked if that's a Christmas movie. And everyone knows it is. So, yeah. It's a love story.
I mean, to me, Christmas Vacation is still like,
oh yeah,
that's still just like such a standard, amazing Christmas movie. I know some people have seen it to death, but I mean, who doesn't laugh every time they hear the line?
Remember,
Shitter's full. Like,
I can see him. Him standing.
Who doesn't laugh at that scene? Shitter's full. Every time I see that part, that just kills me.
Yeah. So, I like how TBS plays A Christmas Story like all day long.
Oh, yeah.
I don't actually have a TV that would bump into that anymore, but, so that's a classic for me. The cigar bar I go to, they have the leg lamp in there.
Oh, yeah.
And the GM came in wearing the bunny outfit on Thanksgiving, the exact one that the kid wore. Fantastic. I wish I had a photo. We'd be adding it to this because it's fantastic. Yes.
I don't see it offhand, but there was one that was, here it is. I love this question because it really speaks to like where competitive bodybuilding is today. What was the original purpose, stepping stone procedure with junior nationals and junior USAs? I feel like they are not common to do anymore, but the older guys talk about them.
Well, junior nationals was, take a trip down memory lane and look at who's won that show. It was very important back in the day. It used to be how you introduced yourself before doing the USAs or something else. Junior USAs was always kind of the bastard child in comparison. But junior nationals, Phil Heath won 6 weeks before he won his pro card. Evan Centopani's won. Kevin Levroni's won. It's a grip. So that's why I wanted to do it. I wanted to use that as a show to let people know I existed. And then jump in. And I also thought it was great because at the time you were compete with great guys, and it was a great way to do a national level show. I think what's gotten lost in the change is this, because everything's about a pro card now. I want a pro card. I want a pro card as soon as I can possibly get a pro card. That's the end of it. It's what I want to get. Yeah. And so the fact that there is no pro card is why people don't do it. They're like, well, I'll just do nationals. I'm like, oh, cool. Just run up there and get your dick kicked in. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Like I get, and I don't say this in a bad way, but I smile when I see the wrong people getting ready for nationals, because I hope that they find out that they love bodybuilding, because they go there, they get smoked, and then they reevaluate. They don't quit. They reevaluate and they come back through. And I think that a springboard show like that used to have value, but now I actually agree. Because it's so small, it doesn't have the value. So there really isn't a reason to do it. It's not one tier below the USAs. Now what you need to do is go to the Atlantic States if you want to do something right below. Right. Guys who are winning the Atlantic States are probably going to turn pro within the next year or two at a pro qualifier.
I never wanted to get my ass kicked at a show. So I was always like, I'll go to the next level when I know I'm ready, Mm-hmm. Like I remember my first time at the provincials, I got third. And I remember everyone's like, oh, so you'll be at nationals in 7 weeks. And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, you qualified. And this is back in 1998. This is going on back then. And I'm like, yeah, but why would I go? I didn't win the overall. And there's going to be a bunch of guys there that won their overalls in Ontario and Quebec and all these other provinces. So if I can't win my overall, why would I go compete at that level? It's just a waste of my time. And of course, I broke bodybuilder back then too. It's not like I had the money to spend on my hobby. Some guys have the money to spend on their hobby, so that's different. But, and then I waited. In the following year, I won the overall at my Alberta's.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, so see you at nationals in 7 weeks. And I'm like, no.
So nationals next year.
But you just won the overall. And I'm like, yeah. And next year I'll do nationals.
Yep.
Because we used to get lifetime buy for overall wins. So I didn't have to qualify again. I could just go to nationals whenever I wanted, right? So I was like, oh, wait a year. I'm going to go watch it from the third row this year and evaluate. And I'll go next year.
So, the exact same thing. I got my qualification for a pro qualifier in 2008. And I had a 2-year qualification. So I used it in 2010.
Yeah.
I didn't do a single show between the two.
Yeah.
I knew. And see, back in the day, we had an advantage, at least in the States. Remember MD used to put the shows up every single weekend?
Yeah.
So Sunday morning, I would go right to the contest coverages, go straight to the overall winner and open up his picture.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not ready to do a national level show until I go through these for multiple months and I know I could have beaten all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then once that happened, I was like, okay, I'm ready.
Yeah. I remember watching the nationals in 99 and I was like, oh, those guys are really good. I'm going to have to be better. I think I could have made top 5. Mm-hmm. And then the following year I got second. So I was very careful with stepping up to the next level. I never wanted to get my ass handed to me. So,
another thing I think that you got to discuss with the guys coming up is, and we've talked about this before, there is enormous value to chasing your pro card once you're ready for a few years and becoming someone that they're looking for to show up. Like after you took second, they were waiting to see what Ron Partlow was bringing to the show. Now, if you look like dog shit, they would, all right, next. But they definitely were looking for you. So when there's 32 guys in a lineup, you're getting a look for sure. You're not going to be a guy that gets passed over. And I think that that's something that's gotten missed. And there is no bigger curse than winning your pro card before you should actually have it.
Yeah.
Like, your career just ended. It's done. Because it is a lot of fun. I mean, I loved preparing for pro qualifiers because I was there to win. And so were a lot of other guys. And once I turned pro, I was no longer there to win, and I knew it. You know, it's like, well, my best will never win one of these because I was very logical. So it became a different thing, and it's a lot of fun to compete to win. So you should enjoy it for a while because most people will never win a pro card, and then those who do, let's divide that by however many more will actually ever win a show. You know, it's a big number. So I wish that those would go back. Those were really valuable shows back in the day, Scott.
I agree. It's funny though, because I know I liked the question because I've known people who've asked me, well, like, what's the purpose of doing that show? You know, it's like, I don't understand, or there's only one pro card there, or, you know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. I want to throw this one in just because I saw it and I thought it was actually solid because it's something I discuss with my clients all the time. We often see people going too hard for too long with the backstage pump up and flattening out. Do you remember a show when you nailed the perfect backstage pump and what was the routine? Oh, that's Bodybuilding by Aaron. He's with Mutant now.
Yeah, great guy. I remember the best pump up I thought was just to run through your poses several times and not get your heart rate up. Like take your time, run through a round of poses, make sure I got my heart rate back down, and run through a round of poses, make sure I didn't like get too excited, and try to stay calm. I think there's a lot of reasons why guys maybe sweat on stage or whatever. I mean, too many diuretics can be one reason, but sometimes they just get excited and get like an adrenaline rush and get too hyped up and they get like a blood sugar crash. Like there's certain things that aren't anybody's fault. You know, sometimes when guys sweat, they're like, oh, I shouldn't have drank that mouthful of water.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, it's not the 8 ounces of water that you had backstage. That's not why you started sweating, dude. You got too stressed out. You were like cortisol and adrenaline, and you had stress hormones racing, and your heart rate was up. And of course, what happens when your heart rate goes up is your body's burning more fuel. And then maybe sometimes it could be too much sugar because then you get a blood sugar crash. It could be all sorts of reasons. But a lot of times it's just try to stay calm. And furious pump ups are usually, well, sometimes not a great idea. So I remember also too is, you know, when you have an amazing chest and arm pump, your legs look a little bit flat sometimes. Like they're not super big, or there's not a lot of veins in them because all the blood's up top. So if you're going to pull all the blood in your body to an area, you have to remember you might not be as vascular in other areas or as full in other areas. So you have to try to think like, what do I actually need to bring up? Like, do I need a little bit more in my chest? But don't over pump the crap out of everything. You know? So
I was saying, I kept it real simple. My pump up routine backstage probably took 5 minutes total.
Yeah. Set of push-ups, some band stuff. I was good to go.
I used to do like the push-ups on the bench, like my hands on the bench, my feet on the ground, and just a close grip. So it was like a tricep chest thing. And I'm talking like 15 just real slow reps. Then grab my bands, do some lateral raises. My triceps are already taken care of, maybe some curls. And then just literally like doing just the row like you would do before you do a lat spread and just real squeeze. And I mean, if you've handled your food properly and you stopped training on Wednesday or whatever day it was, and you've been eating and you have enough water in your system, you're not going to wonder how much it takes to get a pump. You get to that 7th rep of a close grip push-up and you're like, this is hard to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're just bursting full. It's, you know, if you did all of those things right, it doesn't take much. And, you know, right, you know, kind of to piggyback off what you said, Ron, that's another reason I hate seeing people do so many weird things backstage with the sugar and all that. I'm like, you haven't been having that. You shouldn't be trying to get full between waking up and the stage. If you are, you're in trouble. Like the last little bit, I mean, I think most of my clients, the first round, are really disappointed with what we do the last week until they see the result. Because I have to like tell them, it's not that I don't care. It's just, this is all we need to do. Like, don't worry.
Yeah.
You're going to have your 200-gram potato and you're going to have your steak, and we're going to do that again in 3 hours, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah. And the reason I have guys run through their poses a few times is because how many times do you hear guys say, oh, you know, as the call outs went, you got better.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So why don't you just do a few call outs backstage? Like,
get those done.
You know, get those done. Like, do a few backstage, you know, like start 30 minutes out, run through a round of poses, and 5 minutes later, go through another round, and, you know, get everything firing, and, you know, you'll see that you come to life a little more. You harden up a bit.
I always like to test clients early, you know, when we first get up, and have them pose and see if they're going to sweat early ahead of time. You know, like, are we going to start shedding water? Because if we are, let's try to make sure we can get rid of it now versus get rid of it later. You know, I've had a couple times where people have sweat like earlier on, and I couldn't really figure out, you know, why that was. But I used to do a lot more loading than I think I do now. You know, like you said, Dusty, I think I want people to be pretty much ready, and we're probably going to have like one good meal in the morning, you know, and then ideally that's it. Maybe some people aren't really eating much. I found that anymore, I'm not having people put much food in that day of. And the nice thing, I think, too, with bodybuilding at least, is it seems like all the bodybuilding classes are first thing at a lot of the shows nowadays. It's like the very first thing, you know. So if you're a novice, like, you're going to be one of the first people going out. And then after that, you know, you get a break and come back for classic, you know, for the state level guys that are just trying everything out.
And I want to also just reiterate on something I said, like, sometimes it's just that you just need better conditioning too. Like conditioning, like cardio, I mean.
Oh,
like posing endurance. Because like I had a guy, was it last year, the year before? He went out and he's in the Natty. He did the Natty show, so he wasn't on diuretics or anything, right?
Yeah.
He went out, looked really good, first call out, and they posed the crap out of that class. Like, I remember being like, oh, geez, this is a great class. Like, they're really looking. They're moving guys in the middle and moving them. He must have done 8 rounds of, it was like the hardest class of the whole show. I remember everyone afterwards was like, that class was the one that judges were like, look, like really on, right?
Yeah.
And he looked great. And it was like round 8 of posing his ass off, he starts sweating.
Yeah.
And they just did the one round at that point and then walked him off stage. And he was so upset. He's like, oh, I sweat on stage. I messed up my carbs or messed up my water. And I was like, no, dude, you just posed your ass off. Like, it happens. And then he won anyways.
Yeah.
He won the class. But he thought it was like the end of the world because he sweat on his 9th round of poses. And I was like, this is your first show, man. You did great out there. Like, no one did anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
It's not because I told you to drink some water 45 minutes ago. That's not why you sweat. It's not because you ate. You know, the show ran long, so you had like a bite of a cookie. It's not why you sweat. It's none of that is why you sweat. You did great. You just got fucking tired as shit and started breathing like a locomotive, and you just started sweating. So that happens to people too. So just remember, like, be ready for that brutal call out. Like, you might have gone to 20 shows and they do 2 rounds of poses, but be ready to be that guy where you come out and they do 10 rounds for your class and you're like, got to be ready. Because that's a big reason why people sweat, is They just don't have the gas to pose.
Right.
And then they're nervous, so they're over posing.
Yeah.
So they're over posing and they don't have the gas to do it. So it just becomes a heart rate racing, sucking wind, that whole thing.
Hey, I got something for you guys. Maybe I should have saved this for the beginning of the show or something. But I wanted to throw this up here. This is
we're not going to talk about a pro show, are we? Jeez.
Yeah, this is the lineup, guys. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, there are for the Arnold Classic, for the audio listeners, there are so many veteran bodybuilders that they've picked. We'll see, because a lot of times this is the lineup that they picked, and we'll see if everybody makes it. There might be some guys who drop out. But I'm looking at, is Carlos Thomas Jr. like the newest guy out of everyone here? And then after that, Patrick Moore.
That's an awesome lineup for a bunch of reasons.
And what I'm thinking is I'm like, well, what's Carlos going to do? He's got a freaking crazy physique. So how's he going to place? I'm not sure, but I still want to see him even against whoever he's against, like wherever that ends up in the lineup. I'm guessing he's probably not going to beat Samson if Samson does it, so it's like, but wherever he is, that's going to be cool because I can see so many different like mini battles within this.
Well, Carlos is going to jump past a lot of people.
Yeah.
If he is in shape, I would be very nervous to be almost anyone on that stage. There's only a couple of guys here who don't have to think about him.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Everyone else has to worry about him. I mean, he's that good. And that's the great thing, like you were saying, is you look and it's like you can kind of say that across the board. Because outside of Samson and, Samson, Derek, and who else we got? Andrew, after those three, it's anyone's show. And I mean, obviously that's me saying that if they're all on.
Right.
But yeah, it's a frightening one.
Does anyone notice there's 3 Mr. Olympias in this show?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. Hey, we didn't used to have, like, there would never be a Mr. Olympia in the Arnold. I remember, was it 2001 when Ronnie did the Arnold?
Yep.
And it was like such a big deal. Or 2002. I can't remember. Whatever year it was when Ronnie did the Arnold. And it was like such a big deal because they're like, oh my God, Mr. Olympia is doing the Arnold?
Well, it's because it was the first year they gave away the Hummer and he wanted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he went to do it just to go with the Hummer.
And now we've got 3 Mr. Olympias.
And there's 3 previous Arnold Classic winners too.
Yeah.
Bonnick, Curry, and Sampson.
Jesus.
And then you've got I love seeing Sean just doing open shows now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved him at the Arnold when we saw him going up against Rami the other year. Like that was one of the coolest things to me, is seeing them standing side by side.
Do you know why I think that the 212 is going to struggle to ever get big? I mean, I know that's the goal, obviously, that Keon put out there.
Yeah.
But I think the reason it struggles to get big is because the best 212 guys can compete in the open and they're fine, which makes the rest of them not as valuable. Like Sean can jump into any open show.
Yeah.
And he's going to beat a lot of guys. If Sean's in the top 5, I wouldn't blink. I'd be like, yeah, of course. He's ridiculous. Yeah. If you think Keon wouldn't be. So when you look at that, you start to think, well, if the top 212 guys can compete in the open, then why does 212 need to exist? And I think that's how people are. I think that's why fans aren't running to it, because they should let Keon and Sean do both days at the Olympia.
Yeah.
And just go through. And then I think that would be helpful, because it would also tell people in reverse, wait a minute. If the top guys in the 212 are competing and doing well at the Olympia, maybe we should watch. You know what I mean? It's like the reason it's not good is also the reason it could push back. Like, well, shit, then maybe we should watch this 212. Because it's
interesting
sad to me to love 212 because I just love the fact that the guys are always sliced. They're always fantastic.
It's an amazing class.
And they're a sideshow, because whether fans like it or not, what decides where it is money. And you're not drawing enough to pay to put asses in seats to run that show and to pay the big checks.
Yeah.
It's simple. I love when people take it personally when it's just business. It's just math.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the Arnold missing these divisions? Because when they had them, they were losing money.
Yeah.
Not complicated. Did you have another one prepped, Scott, or should I grab one myself?
Yeah, you got one? I was looking for that picture that I just pulled up, so I stopped looking at the questions for a minute.
I'm doing this one. This is not going to hit what you're looking for here, but Mike put this up. It says for Ron. He said, hopefully this will get him on a good rant, which it won't, but that's okay. We had a situation down here with a commercial gym allowing guys in the women's locker room. I know what my decision would be on that. Would love to know how Ron and you guys would handle that.
Well, I live in Canada where we have laws in Canada. And we have lawsuits and human rights lawsuits for stuff like that. So if you don't follow the law, you can get pretty fucked in court.
But see, I think our laws down here are just supporting all of this.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, so you're allowed, they allow that there too, huh? You can just
it's absolutely enforced. Huh. It's you get your ass sued off. That person could sue you for violating their human rights.
That's such a wild thing. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I just assumed that you guys had something right up there, but I was wrong. There's just nothing. I have nothing right up there. Okay, perfect.
Oh no, we're a completely broken country, Dusty. But good news is our finance minister, who is a complete babbling fountain of stupidity, just resigned today.
Nice.
And Justin's government is falling apart.
All right.
They're turning on each other. They're eating each other like piranhas.
That's fantastic.
And I can't wait for it to just completely crumble. And I'm hoping that it happens very soon. And you know what? At this point, I don't even give a shit if we still have a Canada afterwards. To be completely honest, I don't even care anymore. I'm quite fine if we become Western Canada.
Western Canada.
I thought you were gonna say what Dante sent you, Gay North Dakota.
Gay North Dakota. I'd be happy with that. Totally happy with that. Gay North Dakota, here we come. I just want to not. I just don't want to pay 67% capital gains. How's that?
Seems fair.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, I laughed at that because I was like, I know what sets Ron off, and I was like, well, you're gonna be disappointed that this isn't it, but
no,
I can get him going. This isn't the one that's gonna get it done, buddy. It's okay, yeah. Mike. He's new to the game. He doesn't know quite how to do this, you know.
Well, it's Canada. You can never underestimate what's going on up here.
Let's see. Bump. Who cares? Oh, this is actually a good one. I missed this one. You often see trends in all sports from what seems to be, quote, more analytics, then shifting back to old school. It seems like every trend is just based on reaction of sorts. Like one team finally decides to zig again instead of zag. There's also legitimacy to the thought of if you hate change, you're going to hate irrelevancy even more. There's no right or wrong here. My question is based on this notion. What do you see of the new that will stick, and what do you see of the old that will be that won't be making comeback? I think you guys are the right podcast for this thought.
Oh. Well, the new that'll stick, I think, is just... I think one of the things that old school... I think one thing that's a little bit old school is being really absolute with stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that the new school, if I can use that term, even though I hate that term, sort of because of all the science and research now, we understand there's a lot more nuance. There's a lot more context. There's a lot more of all that stuff that is worth our while to pay a bit more attention to. And so, you know, for example, like training to failure, like we understand now why training to failure worked so well for Dorian. He kept his volume very low, right? Mm-hmm. And he also, we know, like, also, Dorian didn't go beyond failure all the time. He did little periods of time where he just touched failure. Like, we see him do sets of barbell rows and blood and guts where, like, he almost does like 8 perfect reps and puts a bar down.
Yeah.
But he knows that, like, that last rep didn't touch his belt. So he's calling that failure. Mm-hmm. And the context of what it means. And we're putting away our egos more. We're training with our brains more. All that stuff is fantastic. And, you know, also the context of cardio in a prep, and the context and nuance are a good addition to what everyone's doing now, instead of just sort of like blunt force traumaing our way through everything, even though it was a great way to do it because at least it got the job done. Right. Like, there was a lot of like I turned pro because I just put my head down and smashed it against a brick wall a million times. But if I would have had all this information at a younger age, I might have been able to do it in a smarter way. So I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to say there was no better way for me to do things.
Right.
You know, and I think that, you know, a lot of the old school stuff that, you know, how there's a bunch of stuff that we were doing that gets like supported.
Yeah.
Like they do the research and they're like, oh, actually, you know, these guys were doing this right the whole time, you know, like carb cycling and all that sort of stuff that we've been doing for a long time, and it's all fully supported now. And so, I don't know, there's a lot.
Yeah, I think when I look at this, what I'm grateful for is the fact that I was fortunate enough to be born when I was and started in bodybuilding where I was, to where we learned the fact that training hard was the most important thing. That was our foundation. And then this new information is valuable to us.
Right.
The problem with the new information for a lot of the younger generation is it is their foundation.
Yes.
So when you aren't training hard enough, and then you have all this nuance that is thrown in, it's very confusing, and it ends up not adding up, because there's, you know, I really love following places where guys are going to see that things get overdone. You know, talking to Justin Shire, it's like he likes to remind people every now and then, I never said go slow. I never said go light. And what happens is they'll watch his video and he's doing a 4 count negative, and then somebody will send him a video doing a 15 count negative. And they're like, see, I'm doing it like you. And he's like,
don't do that.
No. So it's the part that's getting screwed up isn't that all the new stuff is bad. It's that they don't have the foundation to build on and use it for. The part that I hope will disappear is the part where everyone is trying to reinvent the wheel as if it has to be.
Right.
What you're supposed to do when you have a great product is say, okay, but what could make it better, you know? And I also think people need to get away from the idea of looking for an easier way. That's the big hiccup. And that part right there is absolutely generational, because I have 2 of them in my house. It's looking for an easier way. And it's like, you will put more work into looking for an easier way than you would just doing the work that works, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one thing that needs to go away is how much we love shiny things. We need to keep ourselves centered with that shit. So, like, for example, I saw this guy post a video the other day, was training chest. And he was on this new piece of equipment that I'd never seen before. And it was a chest press. And it had bearings and rails and movement arms and all this stuff going on. And my buddy sent it to me and he's like, check out this wicked piece of chest equipment. And I replied back, there's 12 moving parts. There's 12 pivot points. There was 6 pivot points on each side because of the levers and movement arms and bearings. So there were 6 points of failure on each side for a chest press.
And 5 of them are going to break before JP's foot.
Yeah. Yeah. And JP's foot stronger than all of them. And I just thought, like, that stuff, people are going to line up at that gym to use that piece. Oh, look at this new shiny new piece.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, there's an Atlantis plate loaded right beside it that has a better strength curve and one pivot point on each side. You put a plate on, you push the handle. The arm goes up. And chances are the first thing that's going to break on that Atlantis is probably the seat. At some point, they'll have to replace that pin. So that stuff annoys me. People thinking like, oh, these new fancy new machines and stuff. There's some great new machines out there, but there's a lot of stuff I see just as like a problem as a gym owner and as someone who training hardcore. So
I'm looking for a specific question because I know we're kind of closing on the end, and I thought I have one that's fantastic.
I've got the one I want to throw in then while you're looking for that.
Throw yours in, yeah.
Got something for Ron here. Are you familiar with the idea of the Mandela effect?
Yes.
So the Mandela effect is like false memories.
Yeah.
So yeah. Somebody asked like, what were your favorite Mandela effects? And then I pulled up some stuff. I was looking at some of them. I didn't even know that these things were true, man. Like that one, or there's, I guess, Jiffy popcorn in Jiffy lube, but there's no Jiffy peanut butter. It's just Jif. I was like,
Jif,
oh.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Or one is apparently the Fruit of the Loom logo.
Yeah, I've got that one. Here, let me see if I can find that.
Yeah.
While I look for that too, another one was it was never mirror on the wall in Snow White. It was magic
never
mirror
the line. Magic mirror on the wall. I know. There's these weird things that we culturally remember
that never happened,
but they didn't actually occur.
Yeah, Dusty, if you looked at this logo on the left and I were like, hey, that's the Fruit of the Loom logo, you'd probably be like, yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah.
There was never a cornucopia, I guess.
Ever.
It's like, okay.
Someone just tossed it in there for fun.
Yeah.
Or also the line, Luke, I am your father.
I was just going to pull that one up for you. Yeah.
It's not the line. It's actually, no, I am your father. That's the line.
Well, the problem is because we remember it from Tommy Boy.
Right. Right. See? It gets misquoted. Luke, I am your father. Yeah.
Yeah. They said something, another one was about C3PO's legs were silver. Did you know that one?
Pull that one up.
Yeah, hold on a minute. You can't really tell in this picture, but it says, what was it here? It says, given the lower resolution of the older film, the character being short and shot from the waist up, the original line of toys featured in all gold C3PO.
I can see in there. I can see in the right leg.
Yeah, I guess he had a silver leg, I guess. Okay.
Now we know.
The one leg was always silver.
Yeah. I never knew that.
He always had a silver leg in the 1977 release.
You think they ran out of gold, so they just had to finish building with the silver?
Who was
but
this?
in the prequels, apparently he doesn't always have the silver leg because it occurs before Star Wars. So it's from Star Wars on.
This is a cluster.
A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood was a reference to the opening line of Fred Rogers' show, It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Reality, though, the song says, it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood.
Oh, right. That one got me.
Yeah, there's a bunch like that.
What about the Monopoly guy not having a monocle?
I know, because you think, and then you read that he never had a monocle. You're like, yeah, he did.
I know. I'm looking at this and I'm like,
on that one.
But you know what?
I'm looking at this and I'm like, is he like changed or something? Because I swear he had one.
No, it's the Planters Peanuts guy that had a monocle.
Oh,
and we cross that in our brains all the time. Yeah,
with the top hat. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the record, the Monopoly guy should have had one. So
I agree.
They're wrong.
I would have bought some real estate off him if he would have had one.
Yeah, I didn't trust him, so he didn't have one.
I totally would have bought Park Place.
Yeah. Do you know I've never finished a game of Monopoly?
No one has.
You know what? Monopoly is the one game that I haven't played in a long time because I can't control myself. I will end your life, Ron. I will take everything you have. I won't stop until I do. I gotta hold back.
You play like an asshole. What was your favorite board game as a kid?
Sorry.
Oh, Sorry's a good one.
I loved Sorry. That was the game.
Sorry's a good one.
We had I didn't have it. Somebody else did, and I think it was really only like a one-time play thing. Remember that mousetrap game where you got all those different you set it all up? I never had that. I never actually saw it happen, but I wanted it really bad as a kid.
It was cool. I really liked Risk.
I don't know if I ever played that.
Oh, Risk was a good one. The game of world conquest.
Huh.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever play?
You don't know what it's like to invade? You don't know what it's like to invade a country?
Do you guys ever play card games or anything? Like, do you guys keep cards at the house?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's this game that Emily's family plays. You need a special deck of cards for it. It's like the game is the cards. They're not normal cards.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of it now, but it's a lot of fun. We play it every Christmas whenever I'm with her family. Phase 8, Phase 9. I can't remember what it's called.
Crazy Eights?
Phase 10. Oh. It's called Phase 10. Yeah, that's a good card game. We have fun. Yeah, Phase 10. It looks like that.
Okay.
I've never played Phase 10.
Me either.
Yeah, it's fun.
Have you guys played Cards Against Humanity?
Yes.
That is the greatest card game there is.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So, Scott, you have a deck of either white or black cards. I think they're black cards. And someone reads it, and all of you are holding cards that you picked out of the white deck that just could possibly finish the sentence.
Oh,
that's fun. So, it's one of those. Yeah, they're horrible. And and the idea is whoever reads the card gets to decide who created the most horrible answer, and that's who wins, and then they get that black card. So
they're all offensive.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And they have a new one that's like really offensive, and we were laughing because in our soft world, the amount of absolutely racist lines in there are amazing. You're like, good to know that there are people out here that still understand that I am white trash, and that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. So yeah,
if I pull up, let's see, Cards Against Humanity examples.
Yes.
Oh yeah, like just an example. Like the card will be Batman's secret pleasure is, and then someone will have a card that says children. And they'll throw that down, and you're like, "Oh God!"
The more it crosses the line, the better.
Yeah. So it's just like they get terrible, right?
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
That's good stuff for sure.
Okay.
All right. So the final one, because I wanted to close out on this, and I don't even have an answer for this, which makes it. Really
I got to
fun.
piss pretty bad, Dusty. It's better be a good one.
You're gonna hit it quick. Hold it. Name the one thing or phrase a mentor told you growing up that made you realize that hard work is the key to success in life or bodybuilding.
Oh, damn. I can't. The only thing I can think of right now, we got pissed so bad. is I remember when I was in Taekwondo. Martial arts. I would have been like 13 when I was like really serious. I was going to tournaments and stuff. And there was this other kid that I was kind of friends with, and he was a black belt and I was a blue belt. And I only really hung out with him outside of Taekwondo like a couple times because he was a little bit of a dick. But I went over to his house one time, and I think we were playing video games. And he had a poster on his wall of Muhammad Ali. And it had that famous quote, and it was the first time I'd heard it. It said, suffer now in training and live the rest of your life as a champion. And I just remember, like, because I hadn't heard it before. You know, it's like, I can't remember the exact quote, but that's the quote, give or take a few words.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, saying, like, oh, that's awesome. And I remember he was like a huge Muhammad Ali fan. He was like, yeah, man, he's the greatest of all time. And I just remember that line, like, suffer now in training and live the rest of your life as a champion. And I just remember that was like, boom, it just like hit me. I'm like, oh, it's like, that's how you win. You don't win in the ring.
Yeah.
You win in the hitting the bag, and you win like breaking boards, and you win like practicing your forms, and you win like, you know, I was thinking of, because I was in Taekwondo at the time, so I was mapping it onto what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it just always stuck with me because, you know.
Did you have one, Scott, before Ron pissed his pants?
I'll throw them out real quick for Ron's sake. I just happened to think of bodybuilding related stuff. This is from my friend Shelby Starnes, and he said, you know, the people, and this isn't across the board, but it's very common. The people who do best in this sport are the people who have done it the longest. And I think it applies in a lot of ways. There's going to be guys like Phil Heath, right? But I want to direct that to anybody who's new and they're getting ready to do their first show. And you're like, oh man, I really want to take this thing apart. And when you get up there at the state level and you realize, oh, there's guys who've been doing this contest for the last decade. So how can I think that I'm going to, you know, average same genetics as these guys? How am I supposed to do better than that guy when this is the first time I've ever done it? So I thought that was a good one. And I remember a time I was struggling to get more food in, and I was talking about like breaking down my after work and my post workout, all that. And we were talking about it. I can't remember what I said, but he said to me, you know what? I hear you saying a lot of the things you can't do right now. And I think it was because I was frustrated. He said, how about we focus on the things that you can? And for me, it was a light bulb moment because I didn't even realize I was doing it. And now I'll talk to people that I hear doing that. And it's like, there's a lot of things we can't do in life. But it was so freeing to say, let's not even worry about those things. Let's focus on the things we can do.
Right.
You know?
That's awesome.
Agreed.
Okay.
All right, Ron, let's close this out so you can pee.
I got piss. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell. It's quick.
I hope that was okay. Yeah, there you go. Remember, IamMutant.com, Dusty, Big Ron, those are your codes. Go to IamMutant.com, get your all-in, get your ISO Surge, and everyone should get on the gear. And remember the Think Big Patreon.
Thank you, guys.
Producer Home, thanks for the Patreon. Remember, ask your questions. Be Patreons and ask your questions. Okay, everybody. Thank you very much. Until next week, remember, it's just bodybuilding.